So, here we are at the Choir Community YouTube site, and we're really delighted that we've got one of our new arrangers, and I have got the pleasure of talking to Aled, who has sort of taken over the world. And I have to say, I'm going to be very honest this morning, and it's very early for both of us, that I just watched the Britain's Got Talent biblical, and the funny thing was that I sung the parts for it for the Choir Community website for the soprano parts, and that was me. So,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
but if you want to have a cry first thing in the morning, just go and put the
Yeah.
John's boys on. So this is Aled. Good morning, Aled. How are you?
Morning. Morning. It's very early, like you say. I'm not normally, well, I was saying earlier was I normally grunt till about 11, but yeah, I'm just trying to speak this morning.
Yeah, very good. Well, yeah, I'm a bit the same, but we just wanted to find the window, and we found the window. So we're in different places in the world. And so I'm going to kick the ball off by asking a question, Alid, and this is really about you as a musician and as an arranger and a composer, because that's the choir community site is really about getting music to people, audio, and we've got the biblical on the site, and we've got all the audio parts and all the sheet music and some other arrangements that you've done. Can you remember your first musical experience?
Ooh, blimey. First musical experience. Well, I was brought up in a very musical family. So my dad was in a male voice choir. So I could always remember him going out what I thought was really late. It was only 7:30 to choir rehearsal, which I thought was really cool that you'd stay out late going to a choir. So I suppose those are my first musical memories. I could think back to the school nativity. That was the one, and you just, you've got a line to say and a song to sing. I suppose that was my first musical experience at a very young age.
But
And
did you
then
go to many of his concerts, your dad's
yeah,
concerts?
yeah, so I'd go to his concerts, and then I would sometimes if my mum was going out, and I'd have to go to a rehearsal, and I loved it. So I'd be sitting there, ooh, maybe 6 year old, sitting there going to the rehearsal, and then at I'd still want to go then, even though my mum was at home, I'd still want to go to the rehearsal. So eventually at 13 years of age, I joined the youngest member they'd had, and that was the best thing I've ever done in my life. I would suppose joining a male voice choir. There was over 100 in the choir, and yeah, that was me as a 13-year-old. That suit jacket wouldn't fit because it was for somebody else, and yeah, it's great.
I bet you were very popular because it's like the young blood coming through. Because one of
Yeah,
the
well, yeah, that had a massive impact, I suppose, to where I am today.
Mm.
I think it was a combination of going to chapel and hearing the chorales, I suppose, the hymns. I think that was an important part to me of hearing that. But then also, I suppose, classical music as such, I enjoyed. I obviously studied it in university, but wasn't something I would put on to listen to. Whereas sort of current songs, I would. So I think that's where the arranging started, that I was trying to make choral music sort of in line with what I was listening to. But in my ear, I was still hearing the Bach sort of, the harmonies. So I think that's where it all stemmed from, really.
So it's like harmony is in your blood. And it's a really interesting thing because I think that's the same with a few of our arrangers. Because I used to sing with my family when I was really young, and my dad won the Eisteddfod, the best baritone Eisteddfod at the Llangollen International, years and years and years ago. But we all sung as a family, and so I learned. And like you, I think you heard harmony before you ever saw a note of music. So that thing about harmony is like harmony junkies. We're just steeped in it, and it's like such a glorious thing, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. I remember when I was studying doing my A levels, there were some people there doing maths, and I remember this. They saw it as a very mathematical way, after the third and this, and it was incredible. I was like, no, and I was using my fingers just on the table, thinking, no, this chord goes here. Um, yeah, harmonies is an interesting one, and I think that's sort of the creative side when you're arranging with the harmonies, because you can, now and then I twiddle with the tune, but very rare in case somebody tells me off. But with the harmonies, I think, well, this is my job, sort of thing. I could play around with it, and the structure. I would say structure is a really big one, isn't it? With the arranging side of things, especially the
Absolutely.
start and the end. I think people, I think that's a big moment for a ranger, how music starts and how it ends.
Mm. So the power, it's like, I think one of the things I saw when I watched the video this morning is the emotional power of the voice. And I knew it very early that I was made to sing the last verse of In the Bleak Midwinter in the school at 5 years old, when everybody else got to be an angel and a Mary. I got to be in my school uniform doing, but I was aware that I had a power somehow, not a power, but there's something about the singing voice. There's something about when I wonder if there was a point when you realized how powerful singing was.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one, is that you don't realize the impact it has on the person yourself. And I think that sometimes when you become a performer, you're so worried about what else is going on. So when you can sit back and sort of see the impact it has on others, words and how it, I think, to be honest with you, I think the older I'm getting, the more I realize how important words are to people.
Mm.
And, especially in today's world, isn't it? How the words can have an impact on people. And, it is the only instrument that has got words.
And does that have an impact when you're I mean, it's like I listen to music all the time and go, oh, I think I'd like to arrange that one, or oh, and I think our world is just, that's what it is. You're everywhere you are, you think, oh, you suddenly think, and are there some songs that you just have that impact on? Do you think it is?
Yeah, I think you hear a certain song, don't you think, oh, that would work well in this choir. That would work well for that choir. I think if you look back, it must have been amazing years ago if you had a courtroom and you're arranging for instruments, they're your instruments and they have to play what you write. God, it'd be amazing that, wouldn't it? You just got them there just to, because you're always guessing how it would sound. That would, and I suppose an interesting one, if you're doing an arrangement for a certain choir, you wouldn't pick a certain note because your bottom line is you want it to sound good.
Mhm.
And that could be sometimes quite tricky knowing that you want to write this, but they would actually sound better if we put this note in.
So that's
Um,
a lovely thing, isn't it? Being able to envisage a group of singers when you're actually arranging, like you have them in your mind. Do you find that a really
yeah,
helpful
yeah, and you think, well, that section will never learn that.
thing?
Save it. But then if you're thinking about it, if it's going to be published, you're thinking, oh, it's a bit wider, this, you've got to give them the parts
Mm, mm,
for other people to get interested in. Yeah, it's an interesting one.
mm.
And I think what I've realized, if I start taking my arrangements to choirs and they start singing them, the drafts. So I do draft one, draft two, racks up. I'm up to draft, goodness knows, we'll be there all day, just changing it. Or this will work. Try this now, try that. And to me, it doesn't mean much, but to others, it's like, oh, changing it again.
So you're actually doing that with the choir. That's amazing. And they let you do that. What a lovely, that's,
Yeah, so like
they trust you.
yeah, the biblical one, we must have been on because little story insight to obviously Britain's Got Talent.
Mm.
You're only allowed to have a minute and 30 seconds music. So that was playing around with the structure loads and it'd be like, well, actually that bit of the song sounds really good. It's not the main part of the song, but we actually sound better doing that bit. So we were playing around with it.
Mm.
Yeah, and trying different keys and different things like that. And it was just incredible to change the key. It was like, wow, this is like a different piece now. Um, yeah, and sort of yeah, that does happen a lot, sort of thing. I'll do this now, that didn't quite work, and I suppose when you're hearing a computer play it back, you're trying to sing all the parts. And if there was, I suppose, every composer arranger in the world, if they could sing, if we could buy somewhere in some shop in the world, maybe the NHS could sell that you can sing two notes at the same time, that would solve all my problems.
Absolutely. I always have that. I say that quite a lot to my choirs. I wish I could sing two notes at the same time. It would be really helpful, wouldn't it, to be able to do that? Though I have to say, I've just bought myself a harmonizer pedal, but I don't think it's going to be the same. Actually, I really don't think it's the same.
Oh,
You
that
see,
would.
what I do is I actually sing all the parts into Logic first, and I think that's probably another way of doing it, because as soon as I sing it, if I sing it and it feels a bit awkward or it feels a bit clumsy as I'm singing it, I'll go, oh no, that's not right. I'm going to have to, because like you say, if you hear it on Sibelius or on sheet music or look at it, it's not the same, is it, as
No,
actually the
no.
physical
Yeah,
singing of a
yeah,
part.
and I always find it's incredible if I could be working on a section for hours and hours, just listen to it over and over,
Mm.
and then I'll go to bed, wake up and play it again. I think, oh, that's not right. That's just doesn't that it just doesn't sit right. That and it's off we go again. It's just I suppose in my mind I'm trying to get the arrangement the most simplest way the singer can sing it.
Mm.
Because if I always think about this, the high voices got the tune a lot of the times, and the poor low voices, can get some dire lines, can't they? It's just what's left, what's left for the altars will give them that one. So you're just trying to sing those parts over and over.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm very canny because what I do is I very rarely put the tune in the sopranos, and that means that you can't be a soprano like, oh, I'm going to sing the tune, because they often don't, and I get more altos, and actually I love that lower sound where the sopranos are doing more of a descanty sound.
Yeah,
But I'm a
yeah.
bit egalitarian as well. I know this is not about me, where I change the tune and move it between parts at different. But we could talk about arranging all day because it's so fascinating, isn't it? It's just like,
As people often say to me, why do you like a range? I just think it's just a buzz to change. You got so many things elements you could change, couldn't you? I suppose. I always think of pitch, rhythm, harm, and it just goes on and on and on, doesn't it? Something quirky and
yeah.
because at the moment it's doing sort of arrangements which are just changing the traditional slightly.
Mm,
And that's a big call as well, isn't it? You go to a certain note because the bottom line is the audience need to enjoy it as well as the singers,
mm, mm.
these
I
days.
do think that. I think it's like doing a cover version, isn't it? It's like, yeah,
Mhm.
and it's the choir's version or choir's interpretation of a piece that the audience might know really well. And I think that's always a really lovely thing, that you put something new in somewhere. There's something that happens that then, and it's also that thing about, sometimes you hear someone do a cover version, you go, wow, I've never really heard that song before. And how actually translating the song into a live piece is quite a remarkable thing. And I don't think people realize actually the joy of it. I mean, it's really joyous, but it is really like making a big boat out of matchsticks or tinkering with a car, because you're really sort of taking it apart, aren't you, and then starting
Yeah,
again.
yeah, yeah, and you're always thinking about, well, will that work or how will that come across, sort of thing. And yeah, it is an interesting one. And there's so many things to consider as well, like keys. I talk about keys a lot, and it's like, wow, that it just makes such a difference by changing because it has an impact on everybody, doesn't it? It's
Mm.
not, you might be able to have the tune if you're in a certain key. If you're in a
Yes.
different key, you've got no chance of getting that tune, sort of thing. Yeah, it is, yeah, fascinating.
So you're doing a lot of arranging at the moment, because I hear that you're doing quite a lot of touring and things with the
Yes,
choirs.
yeah. So obviously with the choir, since Britain's Got Talent, it's gone absolutely crazy. That was a quite interesting position to be in, obviously, because normally Britain's Got Talent, they would give you the music to sing. So to be in the position to say that I'll arrange the music to go on it, because I think, it is always best if, the guy who's waving his hands knows quite a lot about the people in front of them. So that was an interesting one where, sort of juggling the act of musicianship and entertainment. The entertainment factor, we've got to get a change of key, the lights have got to come on, got to fit that in somewhere in the minute and a half.
Mm.
So yeah, so since then we recorded the songs, and we recorded 5 of my arrangements. Yeah, that was interesting as well, going to a recording studio
Mm.
and working with different sound producers and different things that's on your music.
Mm.
And you sort of got different hats on, I think sometimes is even, sometimes you got your arranger hat on, then you got to take it off and you got to listen because they're all linked in, aren't they, really? Because if you're not listening, as you're not really taking on board what's happened in the piece.
Mm.
So
Mm.
since then, obviously, we've got this UK tour. So we had to put a program together, and yeah, so me looking at what's sort of famous, what people would like to listen to, and starting to arrange them all.
Mm.
Yeah, so I'm just at the moment, strangely enough, starting to arrange all the pieces for next year's tour.
Mm.
Yeah, so it's we're going to do another recording, so it's going to be five more
Mm.
songs, and yes, just trying to get a balance of not just the
Yeah.
same arrangements. That's
Yes.
yes,
So there's a lot more. So it's not just about arranging the music, it's about arranging a whole program and making sure that you've got the light and shade and all that
yes,
within the
yeah.
program, which
Yeah, and knowing the strengths of a choir.
mm,
But it's just amazing since having the biblical and the other pieces go on online, just
mm.
to see other choirs buy
Mm.
them, and then they message you and say, "Oh, like this and like that."
That's really nice. And that's one of the lovely things about the choir community site is that people can email you back and go, oh, yeah, we did this. Or you can contact them and say, oh, how's it going? Is it? So it's really, we're trying to, get this really great community together. And at the moment, we're almost up to a 10,000th choir signing up. And they get when they sign up, they'll be like, well, actually, no, there won't be any of that.
Yeah, because
But
when they're published, I think for all of our us composers and arrangers, it makes such a difference, isn't it, when it's actually been published? I don't think I've never realised it before, to be
mm,
honest. And now I'm on the other side, I think, all right, that does make a difference to a person.
mm,
And it's there now, and other people can buy it, and it's easy to send a link to different choirs and say, why don't you try and because even though the world's got is small, it's so massive, isn't it? And look, all the choirs are,
mm.
to try and get them to sing arrangements. It's because it's quite easy to just to go to certain Google search, and you're just going to get the same arrangements coming up.
Yes, yes, and that's a tricky one as well, isn't it? Doing that. So at the moment, what would you say is the songs or a couple of songs that you've arranged that you absolutely are the most not the most proud of, but they just work. They're just like effortless
Oh,
arrangements or
yeah,
very.
it was very interesting when obviously I did the biblical for male voice. Then when I started doing it for mixed voice, wow, that I was like, wow, this is different. It was like the same colors, but
Mm.
somebody put a different size sheet of paper in front of me to
Oh,
draw.
that's so great.
So it's
Yes.
like, wow, this is different. I sort of turned the page, like, wow, this is, and it was interesting. And then started to change things even more because the colors would work better.
Yes. Yeah.
So obviously that one at the moment is crazy. I think it's on something like 24 million views.
Wow.
Yeah.
So would you
Um,
say that's one of your favorite? All right. I mean, I did that with Chasing Cars, and it was always in SATB, and I did it last year for TTBB,
yeah.
and someone's picked it up, possibly to try and get it into some film or TV. But and Craig, who did all the parts for you, sung all the parts, and it was incredible how different it sounds with how what different vocal colours you get.
Yeah. So I think that's the big one at the moment.
Mm.
And it's incredible because Callum Scott, the original artist, sent me a message to say how much he enjoyed it, and it's like, is
Oh,
this is this real? Is this real? Yeah. So and then sort of the next step. Well, it'll be on Wednesday, for the Llangollen International Eisteddfod. We performing it with orchestra, so I've had to arrange it for orchestra.
brilliant.
So that's going to be a bit different from a track. The live
Yes.
orchestra is going to be even going to take it
Wow.
to another level.
So how do your guys manage to take time off? I mean, a lot of them must have
Oh,
three jobs and stuff. Are you juggling? Is it an absolute
yeah.
nightmare?
It is a nightmare. It's mainly weekends and then some evenings. But juggling it is it's hard. Um, I think the biggest thing being on the show obviously was it wasn't going to change our lives. We were trying to change others through our music.
Yeah.
Yeah, so biblical that one. I'm pretty happy with Anela Fantasia I've just finished,
Mm.
because there's so millions of them, isn't there? There's so many arrangements of that. So enjoying that one. Um, and obviously traditional ones like obviously the Welsh hymn tune Canon Lan. That's something I'm pretty happy with, and I'm just starting to work on some Neapolitan songs.
Ooh.
So sort of like the when they had the three tenors,
Mm.
very sort of, are you going to sing this part? Are you going to sing this part? And they'd already decided who was going to sing what, and they It's a bit like that, sort of some that, and yeah. So doing some twist on those at the moment,
Oh, excellent, excellent.
and it's just starting to look also at some Ed Sheeran stuff
Mm,
because the tunes he writes is just glorious.
mm, mm,
Yeah, just looking at those.
mm.
Yeah, so it's
So, what for you? I mean, I think I found a little bit about you, about the fact that it was the male voice choir and your dad being in a male voice choir and you going and you sitting in the rehearsals, and I can just imagine you as a small boy actually, and all those sounds just going into you, and because you have talent as well, that we take those and we take all those harmonies and they just sort of fill us, don't they? And we don't need to, like you say, we don't need to do, oh, the third, oh, it's the seventh. I mean, I don't do that either. I just sing a harmony and I know it feels right,
yes,
and or it doesn't feel right.
yeah.
So we know about that. And we know that you've done some lots and lots of teaching. So you've been an enabler of people. What's your thing that you do musically that's just for you? Do you have like a secret musical thing that you do just for you? That's
Ooh, that's a good one. That is. I suppose that it's the arranging. I would say it is everything. You know I can sometimes start arranging maybe 11 o'clock in the morning. And I look at the clock and it's 7 o'clock at night, and I've just sat there all day, just listening to this, and then you go away and listen to it and come back. Yeah, I think that is the one. Really, I don't really have.
So it's like your superpower. And when did you find out you had this superpower? When did you arrange a piece for the first time?
Ooh.
And was it when you were working in a school? And I mean, mine started just like arranging little things for, classroom things, I think. But I don't know. What about you?
Yeah, I think I was suppose because I've got the element of the choirs running with me. I started to arrange, but I didn't have anybody to perform them.
Hmm.
You can
Oh,
arrange unless somebody to perform them, and you've got nobody to perform them. So I think when I went to university, that was the first time that there was a module, Craft of the Arranger. I remember Craft.
oh, nice.
And I remember the professor at the time came to me and said, you've got a real art to this. I never expected the beginning to be like that. And you messed around with the end. That's cool. And I was like, oh, right, thank you very much.
Mm,
And then later on in life, when you start to take over choirs, and that's when you can start handing them out. And he's just panicking a bit, thinking, how's this going to work? Is it going to? Because I think also with the introduction of Sibelius and music software, that's made such a difference,
oh,
isn't it?
yes. Yes.
Such a difference.
I love Sibelius.
Yeah.
Anyone who's watching this who doesn't know what Sibelius is, it's like a musical package where you can put the notes in, but you can press a button and you can hear them too.
Mm.
And I think that's the thing. I think certainly for people like you and me, the fact that I can press the button and listen to all the parts together is a
Yeah.
bit like being back in that room and hearing, the harmonies of the male voice choir when you were little.
Because I'm not sure for you, my process would be I'd put it in, and all the harmony parts I'm just playing and singing along to what I
Yes.
think
Yeah.
sounds, and then I put them in. And then
Yes.
there's the odd time where I always say this when I'm, been teaching composition of things, use your ears, most, use your ears. And then if something not right, have a look at it, use your eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then if something's still not right, you're gonna have to analyze it somewhere because there's something not right.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a third missing or a fifth missing, but you'd normally sort of sing that, wouldn't you? Sort of, it is, and
Yeah.
people always say to me, "How do people sing in harmony?" I said, "Well,
And
'cause
isn't that a funny thing? Because I have got friends. I went on a course last year and no one could sing harmony. They were all, very few of them. And it was like a whole swathe of songwriters. And I was like, I just didn't understand it. It feels really weird to me that people don't can sing harmony.
it's interesting because obviously I've been in lots of different schools as well,
Mm.
working as a music teacher, and I've been in schools that we split into high and low. The high and low part. Then after about a few years of teaching, I realized actually you just got to split it into who can sing the harmony parts.
Mm.
'Cause I found when I was in schools, I'd be better off ranging to a small, limited range
Mm.
and having some harmony.
Mm.
If I started to write for high and low parts, and
Mm.
they would, and the low part couldn't reach the high, and you're
Mm.
just going around in
Mm.
circles,
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm. Mm.
it's, and I've also found it different places I go to. and different countries, different regions. Some can sing the harmony parts.
So again, it's what you're used to, and I think that's the thing about the Welsh male, the chapels and the choirs, and if we've been, if we've had singing in our lives, and I think that's one of the things that I find interesting about everyone can sing, and you get what happened was that at 5 years old, children would be told you can sing or you can't sing because, and what happened was that as kids they either sung with their families or they didn't. And when they got to school at 5, they either sung on the monotone or they sung beautiful, they sung beautifully. But you can learn that. You can learn that. And it's like any other language, really. It's like if you're actually exposed to the language of harmony, then you just, you do. It's like learning French and learning Spanish at the same time as learning English from birth in a way. So it's something that you can learn,
Yeah,
but
it's
you have to be really seeped in it, don't you? You have to be.
it's somehow just natural to you. You know,
Yeah.
I could walk into most pubs. I suppose I've got the rugby on in Wales, and it'd be 3 or 4 part harmony, easy.
Wow.
Yeah, straight off. Just
That's incredible. I mean, and that really is incredible. And that's a beautiful thing to mention is that there'll be 3 or 4 part harmonies in a pub with ordinary guys watching the rugby.
yeah.
And if you went to a different area, of the UK even, that wouldn't happen so much.
No, and but I do. It's interesting. I think everything comes with its strengths and its weaknesses. Because I'll say it myself. Rhythmically, people. I don't know what it is. I think sometimes if you sing, I'm not sure if you agree with this one. Harmony. Sometimes we can be very rigid.
Mm,
Want everything to be going in blocks, in blocks. It has to be work right for me. So
mm,
sometimes we're not as rhythmically flexible as we could be.
That's a
I,
really interesting point, isn't it? That we can gain in one area and not in the other. And
yeah. I always, when I'm a ranger, I always have to be aware that I can be a bit boring because I'm just obsessed with harmony. And so I'm thinking, right, what can I do to that line rather than you just singing a minim, just because it's got to have the harmony in.
Oh, bless. That's so lovely.
Then,
Yes.
but then one of the most beautiful things is unison as well, isn't it?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Unison. And I actually think when you've had some harmony, then it goes back to unison. It's really powerful. And I think people forget the power of everyone singing the same tune at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a really, really beautiful thing. I mean, it's that whole thing of unity and harmony and what the words actually mean as well, isn't it? It's
Yeah, and then I'm doing a lot at the moment, sort of thinking of right, what's that word? Do I need an open fifth there on that vulnerable word?
mm, mm, mm.
And whereas if I suppose if you're doing some sort of exams and things, for GCSE or A level, you'd say,
Oh, you
oh,
can't do an open fifth. Yes.
let's do that. Whereas, it actually works quite well.
So you're word painting with harmony
Mm.
rather than they talk about word painting with melody, but that's actually taking the word and painting a feeling with what the interval is that you're using or what cluster of notes. And that is, I mean, we are really nerdy people, aren't we? Because we would just really just get into this so much and talk all day about.
One of my funniest experience with harmony, I remember doing this arrangement. It was of the Calon Lan, and did a bad mood. I did a bad mood, didn't press save, wandered off. So anyway, I just wandered off, didn't press save. I came back and pressed play, and it sounded there was this note which was absolutely gorgeous. Never thought of that. And the only way I can explain how it actually happened was my cat walked across the keyboard. And Luigi now is famous. The cat Luigi is famous for putting this gorgeous dissonance on the
Um,
word, on the very very important word in the Welsh tune. And it's like that's
nice.
gorgeous. And every time in a concert I hear it, I always think that
Luigi,
was
thank you. Yeah, and
yeah.
that can happen, can't it, with accidents or just that clashy thing. And sometimes I'll say a note is only wrong by a note. It's like if you go up one or down one, it's going to be the right note. If it's the wrong note or
I say that to pupils. I say you're not far off. You're only one off. Just one of them has to go up or down.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's great. So future plans. I mean, you've got. I mean, I would imagine that this is your future plan, really, isn't it? Doing these tours. But have you got anything else that's sort of in the back of your mind, going, "Ooh, and you
Yeah,
know,
I would.
get out loud, you never."
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is for us arrangers is to get the word out there and choirs perform them.
Mm.
you know, this is I'm not sure I'm allowed to say, it's not a massive money-making scheme,
It
is it?
isn't a money making thing. We do it for love, we really do, and we because the amount of money we get for each piece of music is very small. You know, we don't.
Yeah, so it's just I'd love to you know, hear more choirs perform our music and get involved with them more. And I'd love to start to work with choirs that I'm not involved with, you know, so I can just turn up with a hat on and have a listen and say, oh yeah, that works. I'm really sorry I've given you an awful part moment there. What was I thinking of? And I can't, you know, I could blame Luigi the cat or something. Just
Yeah.
yeah. And I suppose it's the key, I think it's interesting one also with if singers arrange for singers, you know, it does make a difference, isn't it? Because you're sort of thinking of the voice.
Mm.
Um,
I think I can tell. I actually can tell. I go through arrangements and I go, no, no. You know, it really does. It, and I think if you have that, it really
yeah,
makes a difference.
it's sort of where it sits, isn't it? If
Yeah.
it's but then I suppose it depends on the choirs as well. You
Mm.
know, if somebody said to me, "Give me a piece," I think, and they give me the two separate choirs, I think the arrangement would be totally different.
Mm. Mm.
Because you want them to, it needs to be for them, sort of thing, isn't it? And I suppose that's where we as arrangers can go to choirs and say, "I think this would suit you really well. This song."
Mm.
This one
Mm.
would really suit you well. You know, as or somebody saying, like, what about this one? Why don't you sing this one? This will suit you better, sort of thing.
Mm.
But it's yeah, so that's at the moment is sort of building up um, the profile of the arrangements.
Mm.
But I suppose the same again, you need people to buy them, don't you, sort of thing.
Mm. And it's also us just getting into a tradition or a mindset that choirs know that they do have to buy music and it's part of the whole thing. It's a bit like the listening to music, you know, it's like people don't really think they have to buy music anymore, that it's free and that actually you do have to buy it and it has value. If you buy a set of arrangements for your choir, that there's a value in that for everyone.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah, that's another side I've noticed that since I've obviously gone freelance. I'm thinking,
Mm.
right, all right, I never thought of these things before, you know, because it is a knock-on effect, isn't it?
Mm.
Because I think when you're arranging, there's the original artist involved as well,
Yes, yes,
you
yes.
know, and then you know, it's I don't know what percentage would you say the original artist is when you arrange within 50?
Oh, I don't know, but it's yes, it's substantial, of course. Yes,
As in the actual musical content though. That's interesting, isn't it?
oh yes, I
You
don't
know,
yes.
who
Yes. There's a lot
being
there. There's a lot we could talk about with like the whole thing about
like a folk song. If
mm.
you arrange that, I would say possibly the arrangers had more is going higher
But
percentage
the
of what.
arranger will then become the composer of its impossible.
Yeah,
So you then are actually in a position where you are composing the piece. So it's 100%. Yeah,
yeah.
so we got to get down those folk roots as well and be
Yeah.
writing our own songs as well. But I have to say, we should probably wrap up soon. And I wanted, so I feel like I've learned so much about you already just from this little thing. And I'm going to talk to you a bit more after this. But thank you so much for sharing a bit about you,
Right, you too.
Alid, and what you're doing. And so you are a singer. You are. Do you sing the parts of the songs on some of the songs on the choir community? Are those you?
No, that's no. I think telling children off in class has had a really big impact on my voice.
Don't you? I lost a whole octave on my voice, and it took me a year of not being in a classroom to get that octave back, and I just had to keep going. See, but yes,
I,
it's the worst thing you can do for your voice.
I
It's
remember being I was in teacher for a few years in a boys' school, obviously singing treble. Wow, that made such a difference when I went to sing it because I was just used to. That was tough. That was, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's really lovely, and I know that our paths are going to cross a lot, and I know that the choir community are really happy for you to be part of our community, and I'm sure choirs all over the country are just going to get so much joy from your work. And good luck with the John project, as I should call it.
Yes, yeah, we're going into lots of schools at the moment and doing different workshops.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, so that's another element I'm starting to think of arranging songs because that's another art, isn't it, of for children as well. Wow,
Yeah, and the
that's
fast song, the song that you just know works in 10 minutes, and that it has a structure. So that's about simplicity. And you said something earlier, and we didn't go into it, that whole point of keeping it simple, but keeping it rich, and making sure that whatever note you have in there, oh my God, we could go on forever, couldn't we? It is the right note. So you only have 3 notes. They really state the whole thing, isn't it?
And obviously, if you know, time's a big issue as well, isn't it? You know, trying to teach a song, you know, maybe in schools they haven't got much time, and they, you know, they want the end result pretty quick, don't they? And the pupils, you know, they haven't got much time to be sitting down in a rehearsal sort of thing.
Mm.
So it is just trying to know those little tricks of the trade to make something sound better than it is, sort of things. That makes it it's sort of
Yes.
yeah more impressive.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to stop now, and thank you very much.
Oh no,
And
wasted.
I'm going to press stop,